I get asked all of the time what iPad I use, how much memory I have, what stylus I use, if I use a screen protector, and on and on and on. So I thought that I would make a video so that I could cover all of these topics really thoroughly and answer any questions that you might have. I've timestamped all of the questions in the description below, so if you want to skip back and forth between different topics, you can do that. Personally, I have a 12.9 iPad Pro first generation with 128 gigabytes. My advice is that whatever you do, just make sure that you get an Apple Pencil compatible iPad. But there are 2 generations of the iPad Pros. If you can afford it, I don't know why you wouldn't go ahead and buy the newer model. But if you're looking to save money, I have the first generation and I do not feel like I'm missing out. I don't have any need to update and I've had mine for 3+ years now. Apparently there is supposed to be a little bit less lag in the newer iPads compared to the old iPads, but I haven't noticed any lag drawing in my iPad Pro anyway. And I've taken the 2, I have a friend who has a newer version of the iPad Pro and we've compared them side by side and neither of us really can tell a difference. And if you really need to save money, there is the new 2018 iPad, which is Apple Pencil compatible. I've only heard rave reviews from other illustrators about it. It seems to work just great with Procreate and significantly cheaper. There are just a couple of downsides to the 2018 iPad, and that is that you can't create as large of a canvas in Procreate and the screen size is smaller. You can't get it as large as the iPad Pro, which to me is important, but may not be important to you. If you do have the chance to go and try it out in the store, I think that is always the best way to do it. But above all, I would really recommend that you don't bother with an old regular iPad. The Apple Pencil is built so that it can detect how hard you press and the angle at which you press. So if you think about a pencil, you use the pencil by pushing hard to draw darker, and then you also use it to shade by using it on its side. The newer iPads are built to recognize those differences where the old iPads are not. Think about the amount of detail that you can get by using your finger and drawing on a phone versus using a stylus and drawing on an iPad. Well, the newer iPads are built with even more points to sense a touch of the stylus, whereas the older iPads are more like a phone. They just don't have that many points to recognize the pen itself. So you're able to get way more fine lines and a lot more detail. Okay, let's talk about physical size. I have a 12.9 screen and I would not go smaller. I draw on it every single day and that screen size, every inch is worth every single penny to me. I would say something like 90% of the artists that I talk to all recommend the 12.9. Portability is really important to me. I am able to bring my iPad around pretty easily, but it doesn't fit in my smaller purses. I do have a larger bag that I carry it around with, and that's fine for me. If portability is really important to you, I would look at the bags that you have and what you would want to be traveling with your iPad with, and make sure that the size would fit inside of there. Memory size. This is a big topic. I have 128 gigabytes, and in 3+ years, I have used about 62 gigabytes. I don't store a lot of games or photos or movies on my iPad, but I also haven't deleted any of my Procreate canvases, and I use the largest size canvas that I can. People always say that bigger is better, but if it's costing you hundreds of dollars, I just don't think that's true. The 128 gigabyte has been totally fine for me. I know the new iPad Pro models don't come with the 128 option, but I would definitely lean towards the 265 option rather than the 64 gigabyte option, just knowing that I've used just about 64 gigabytes in 3 years. Now, there's a misconception that the amount of memory that you get is going to affect the size of your Procreate canvas or how many layers that you can have in a large canvas. and this is actually not true. Not exactly. So that's actually determined by the amount of RAM that the iPad Pro has. If you are getting a 12.9 iPad Pro, the 2017 version, which is the second generation, instead of the 12.9 iPad Pro first generation, thinking that you are going to get a bigger size canvas, you're going to be disappointed because they both have the same amount of RAM and they're going to give you the same size canvas. But if you're debating between the iPad Pro, which is a 9.7 screen, and the new 2018 plain iPad, you're gonna get less of canvas size because those have less RAM. And I know it's really annoying that the canvas sizes are limited, but Procreate does this for stability. It means that the app isn't using so much of your iPad's brain that it freezes up and goes, I can't handle this, I quit, and crashes or freezes. I could not find the RAM listed on the Apple website, so I used another website, and I'm linking that in the description below if you want to double check that. Styluses. I have an Apple Pencil and I am super happy with it. Like I said before, the amazing thing about the Apple Pencil is that it detects differences in pressure as well as angle. And there are other styluses on the market that can do that. I don't think it makes a huge difference as long as you get both that pressure sensitivity and angle sensitivity. So let's talk accessories like cases. You are going to want a case for your iPad. I've had two cases. The first was a model like this, and I loved it because it would fold up really narrow and fit on a narrow shelf, and I could watch Netflix while in the bathtub. I love baths. I think I could live in a bathtub. But it was cheap off of Amazon and it fell apart. The second case I got was this model. It has an Apple Pencil holder, but it does not protect my Apple Pencil. So when I put it in my bag, I do store the Apple Pencil separately, but just around the house or while I'm carrying it around, that works fine. The main thing that I would look for in an iPad case is that it has multiple angles to rest the iPad. I use different angles all the time, depending on where I'm drawing. Screen protectors. So you don't need a screen protector, but a lot of people like them. I was gifted one from a friend, and it is the Tech Armor one, and I'll link it in the description. People who like their screen protectors love their screen protectors and have said that it changes their relationship with drawing on the iPad. They say that it feels more like natural paper and there's a little bit of resistance, and they really love the way that it makes it feel to draw on the iPad. It doesn't really make a big difference to me. I'm not wild about it. I don't mind drawing on the glass. It's never really bothered me. To me, the screen protector kind of feels similar to the way that drawing on a Wacom tablet feels. A Stylus Grip. Man, this is something that I didn't think I would care about at all, and I love it. I tend to grip my pencil really tightly, and this thing helps me ease that pressure, holds the pen a little bit better. It's so nice to use. This brand is Ergo, and I will link that in the description as well. Keyboards. I don't use a keyboard with my iPad. If I have to do typing, I use my computer. I did get an old wireless Apple keyboard from Goodwill for I think like 10 bucks, and that did work with it. So I would look at maybe trying that out before you invest in an expensive Apple one. What drawing apps should I get? There are a couple of really popular apps. Some people like Adobe's Photoshop Sketch. It has amazing watercolor brushes, and I've heard lots of great things about Art Studio Pro. I downloaded it and it's got some really powerful tools. And Affinity Design, I only hear great things about that as well. AstroPad is cool. It mirrors your computer screen so that you can use your iPad to work in Photoshop or Illustrator. But my favorite is, you guessed it, Procreate. It is my favorite app. It has been a total game changer for me. I create almost all of my professional work in it. And at the time of the recording, it's only $10. And that's not a subscription, it's just a flat fee, $10, worth every single penny. They have a phenomenal handbook manual, which is free to download. But if you're not really the reading type, I do have a class on Skillshare, which goes over how to use the app. There's a link to a free 2-month trial to Skillshare in the description. Will this replace my computer? No, not for me. I definitely have created finished, sellable artwork on the iPad, but it's not a replacement for Photoshop. It's a really great drawing tool, less of a good editing tool. And I don't like typing on the iPad. I do too much heavy-duty work on the computer for me to try and translate that to the iPad. But I love watching Netflix and YouTube, browsing the internet, listening to music, all of this on my iPad. It's really great for that, and the speakers are surprisingly loud. If this info was helpful, share it with a friend, and if you have any other questions, leave them in the comments below.